It was almost 6 years ago when I started my first real company while still attending university. It was a social media marketing agency, which I still run to this day, now over 6 years later. And I was attending university for business and marketing. And I vividly remember coming home on a winter break after the first year of school. And I had come to the rude awakening that school was not going to teach me how to build a business for myself. Universities and business degrees are designed to breed you for corporate employment. And so I came home on that winter break and I knew that I wanted to venture into my own entrepreneurial endeavors and start my own business. And I came home and I proposed to my mother first, actually, that I wanted to drop out and start my own business, a marketing company. My mother was in full support. My father, on the other hand, was a little more concerned about my future, and rightfully so. He grew up in an era where you went and you got a degree if you wanted to make something of yourself in a professional field. You know, he was just doing his best to guide me with the knowledge that he had acquired in his life. And I remember finally coming to the conclusion with my father and my parents and having that discussion that I would finish out university, I would get my bachelor's degree for my father. But I would give school the bare minimum in order to receive that degree and to continue to get my tuition scholarship. And while I was doing so, I was going to start my business while in college. And if I was able to drum up my first couple of social media marketing clients by the time I graduated, I was going to take that on full time once I graduated from college and got my degree. And so I progressed with that. I started the company. I did end up signing my first couple clients. I took to the Instagram DMs. I grew up in a very small town. I had 21 kids in my graduating class. This was a K through 12 school, all under one roof. And there were next to no businesses in my hometown. And I knew that my only opportunity to build a social media marketing company was to go abroad. So I got on Instagram, I went in the DMs, and I would actually sit there and scroll my feed, I remember. And I would scroll until I saw a sponsored Instagram post. And I knew that if they had sponsored the post, that they were at least open to the idea of opening up their wallet and spending some amount of money on promoting a post on Instagram. So I knew their minds were open to the idea of social media marketing and spending money on it. And I would tap every sponsored post for a company that I would see, and I would send them a DM, or I would record a DM video on Instagram and send it to them. And I actually managed to book some discovery calls and sign some clients before I graduated college. And I had actually had some of my first retainer-based clients before that time. And then once I graduated, I stuck to my guns. I set up this little office. My little brother helped me build out some of it in my parents' very stark basement. And from there, I started building what is today Blades Marketing. And we're now based in South Carolina, but have clients from the East Coast to the West Coast, and have worked with a plethora of different industries and businesses. And our top clients now are law firms here in South Carolina. But the segment of my life that I really want to highlight in this video is that first 2 years after I graduated college, running the business out of my parents' basement. And I have never had a more lonely chapter in my life. You see, I had decided that I wanted to make something of myself in the business world. And I was doing everything from dressing the part, creating content, building my business, working long hours, still keeping up with my fitness regimen. And I really became quite alienated, in all honesty, from the local rural population, from my friends, my peers, and even some of my family members, due to the fact that, and it's no fault of theirs, that they simply didn't quite even understand what it was that I was trying to accomplish. And I remember that being very mentally challenging for me at certain times. Like, it's hard to express what it felt like to start a business, and in particular a social media marketing company. So this digital marketing type business, this online business, if you will. And a lot of my family members, including my parents, who were literally upstairs from me while I'm working down in this basement all day and walking around and running around on my phone all day, didn't even understand my business, didn't understand social media, had no clue what I was even building or working on a day-to-day basis. Had no idea even what my clients were paying me for, or the few clients that I had at the time. And it was really, really hard for me at certain moments when I remember, vividly my father expressing concern at certain points in time that, I was going to have to maybe take on some real work at some point, or that I was kind of just messing around on my phone or my computer all day, and I should maybe, seek out some work or think about doing something different. And it's to no fault of his. Again, I want to stress that. He just didn't understand what I was doing. My own grandparents and other family members of mine, and including my parents, to this day do not fully understand what I even do for work. But I knew one thing that enabled me to press onward even when everyone around me was doubting me, not necessarily with a malicious intent, but more so because they genuinely cared about my well-being and my future. But it enabled me to press onward in those moments of doubt. And that was the simple fact that I knew that they would understand if I succeeded. And that was enough for me. And now, again, like I said, to this day, a lot of them still don't know what it is necessarily that I do on a day-to-day basis, or what my work necessarily entails in regards to my agency. But they see the fruits of my labor now. I was just a madman out in the middle of a field planting seeds early on. And they they didn't necessarily understand and couldn't see the opportunity that I saw. And they just wanted what was best for me. But what I knew is that if I planted those seeds that day, and that every single day I went out and I watered those seeds, that eventually they would grow into full-size plants and bear fruit. And now the life that I have today is all because of the fact that I was willing to go out to that field every day and water those plants that no one saw, no one really even thought would sprout or understood when they did sprout, what kind of plants they would be, but it was all worth it. Every grueling moment, every lonely early morning, late night was worth it. Every time and this is a funny story I tell people all the time too, is I wound up in an online business industry, and we didn't even have high-speed internet access at my parents' house until I believe I was 22 years old. I was running the thing. Half the time I would run it off of, my father got this Verizon hotspot thing, and I would basically sit there, max the hotspot out at the house with the limited cell coverage that we had, and then I would drive into town and go to the local library and local social centers, and I would either sit outside, or during the winter months I would sit in my car connected to their Wi-Fi to build this business. From the outside perspective, or for someone that didn't necessarily understand the industry I was pursuing a successful career in or pursuing to build a business in, I must have looked like an absolute fucking lunatic. And that was hard at first. It was hard at first, but again, I accepted the fact that, number one, it was going to be hard, that I was going to be misunderstood, and that was going to hurt in ways that few people understood, but that if I was successful in my endeavor, and those seeds one day made it to the point of bearing fruit, that then they would understand, perhaps, not necessarily why or how I did it, but that I simply saw something that they couldn't. That I saw an opportunity that they didn't. And a lot of my family and my friends are proud of me and in what I have been able to accomplish. And it's still not because they understand necessarily what it is that I do or how I do it, but because they see the man that I have built worthy of that which I was striving and working so hard to accomplish. And they see the fruits of that labor. So for any of you just getting started, feeling misunderstood, I understand exactly what it is that you're feeling and what you're going through. And let me leave you with this. If you make the choice in your life to strive for the extraordinary, you must eventually accept the fact that you will be misunderstood by the ordinary. And that doesn't mean that those people closest to you necessarily want to see you lose. They just don't necessarily see the opportunity maybe that you see. And the only way to gain a certain level of understanding from those people is to set out and do what it is that you're saying that you're going to set out and do. The only way is forward. The only way is through execution of whatever it is that you're trying to build. And then let the results do the talking for you. Thank you for tuning into this video, gentlemen. I appreciate the individual that commented on my last YouTube video that gave me the inspiration for this video. And I will catch you all on the next one. God bless.